Physical attraction. Before you've said a single word to someone, your brain has already made a decision about them. That's physical attraction, and it's almost entirely automatic. Studies show people rate a face as attractive or not within a tenth of a second, faster than you can consciously register that you're even looking. What your brain is scanning for isn't beauty in some abstract sense. It's looking for signals of health and fertility that evolution baked in as shortcuts: facial symmetry, clear skin, certain proportions. None of this involves knowing anything about who the person actually is. It's a filter, not a relationship, and the uncomfortable part is that this filter runs before your conscious mind gets a vote. You don't choose who you find physically attractive any more than you choose your reflexes. What you do choose is what you do next. Sexual attraction. Sexual attraction is a completely separate system from romantic attraction, and mixing the two up is where a lot of people get confused about their own feelings. This one runs on testosterone and estrogen, and its only real goal, biologically speaking, is reproduction. It doesn't require liking someone. It doesn't require knowing their name. Onset. Hormone levels combined with visual, scent, or even voice cues can trigger a sudden spike in desire, often with no emotional component attached at all. Peak. At its height, sexual attraction narrows your focus almost entirely onto one goal, and it can exist completely detached from any romantic or emotional connection to the person. This is the system behind attraction to a stranger you'll never speak to again. Come down. After the peak, hormone levels crash, most notably a spike in a chemical called prolactin right after climax, which produces a rapid drop in desire and, often, a rapid drop in interest in the person entirely, if nothing else was holding the connection together. That's not coldness. That's just the chemical that was doing the attracting running out. Romantic attraction. Romantic attraction is the one people confuse with love itself, but it's really just the early obsessive engine underneath it. It runs on dopamine, the same reward chemical involved in any pleasurable habit, and it's built to make you fixate. Onset. Every interaction with the person, even a text, triggers a dopamine release, and your brain quickly learns to associate that person with feeling good. Peak. This is where attraction turns into fixation. You think about the person constantly, replay conversations, read meaning into small details. Judgment gets cloudy on purpose, biologically speaking, because this system is built to override caution. Come down. Dopamine doesn't stay elevated forever. Like any repeated reward, the body builds tolerance and the obsessive intensity fades over time, whether the relationship continues or not. This is exactly why the beginning of something always feels stronger than 6 months in. It's not that the connection got weaker, it's that the chemical driving the obsession did its job and moved on. Danger-induced attraction. This is the type of attraction nobody talks about, and it's arguably the most manipulable one in this entire list. In a well-known experiment, researchers had men cross either a shaky, terrifying suspension bridge or a solid, safe one. On the other side, an attractive researcher asked them a few questions and gave them a phone number in case you have questions later. The men who crossed the terrifying bridge were far more likely to call. Nothing about the researcher changed. What changed was the men's own heart rate. Onset. Fear and adrenaline spike your heart rate and get your body physically aroused in the general sense of the word, meaning alert, activated, keyed up. Peak. Your brain, trying to make sense of why it's suddenly racing, looks for an explanation in the environment. If an attractive person happens to be standing there, the brain misattributes the arousal to them instead of to the actual source, which was fear. Come down. Once the danger passes and the real cause of the arousal becomes obvious, that manufactured spark usually fades fast unless something else is reinforcing it. This is not an accident, by the way. It's the entire reason horror movies and roller coasters are considered classic date choices. Someone is quietly relying on your brain's wiring bug. Emotional attraction. Emotional attraction builds slower than any of the previous types, and it's arguably the one most likely to actually last. It's driven less by a single chemical spike and more by a repeated pattern: mutual vulnerability. When someone shares something real and you respond well to it, and then you do the same, your brain releases oxytocin, the same bonding chemical involved in long-term attachment. Each honest exchange adds a small deposit to that bond. This is why people can develop deep emotional attraction to someone they're not physically attracted to at all, and why some of the strongest emotional bonds in a person's life started as friendships. Unlike physical or danger-induced attraction, this one has no instant trigger. It has to be built, exchange by exchange, and that's exactly why it tends to survive longer than any spark ever could on its own. Intellectual attraction. Some people don't fall for a face or a body. They fall for how someone thinks. Intellectual attraction is triggered by novelty and stimulation, a new idea, an unexpected argument, someone who makes you see something differently. That novelty triggers dopamine, the same reward chemical behind romantic attraction, but this time the trigger is a conversation instead of a person's presence. This is why a genuinely stimulating conversation can outlast physical attraction that's already faded, and why some relationships run almost entirely on this system, powered by debate, banter, and ideas, rather than chemistry in the traditional sense. It's also, notably, the hardest type of attraction to fake. You can't manufacture being interesting. Familiarity. Attraction. This one is uncomfortable because it's basically manufactured fondness. Psychologists call it the mere exposure effect. The more often you're exposed to something, a song, a face, a coworker sitting 3 desks away, the more your brain defaults to liking it with no other input required. Studies have shown this works even with random, meaningless shapes shown repeatedly to strangers. Familiarity alone increased how much people like them. Applied to people, this explains why so many relationships form out of proximity rather than any deliberate search. Coworkers, classmates, neighbors. It's not that the connection is fake. It's that a huge percentage of it is your brain rewarding convenience, not compatibility. Worth remembering the next time you're certain someone is the one simply because they're the one who happened to be around the most. Platonic attraction. The last type isn't romantic or sexual at all, and most people never bother naming it, which is exactly why it gets confused with the others so often. Platonic attraction is simply wanting someone in your life without wanting to date them or sleep with them. It runs on the same bonding chemicals as long-term romantic attachment, oxytocin, and a related hormone called vasopressin, just without the lust system layered on top. This is why some friendships feel as important, sometimes more important, than romantic relationships, and why losing a close friend can hurt in almost the same way a breakup does. Society spends a lot of energy insisting that connection this strong has to eventually turn romantic. Biologically, it doesn't have to at all. It's simply a separate system, running the same bonding chemistry, aimed somewhere else. Closing 8 systems: physical, sexual, romantic, danger-induced, emotional, intellectual, familiar, platonic. None of them are attraction in some single unified sense. They're separate mechanisms that can fire alone or all at once, and most of the confusion people feel about their own feelings comes from mistaking one for another, mistaking a scared heartbeat for chemistry, mistaking convenience for compatibility, mistaking lust for love. Next time you feel pulled toward someone, the more useful question isn't, "Do I like them?" It's, "Which system just fired, and why?" If working out which one of these just hijacked your judgment felt a little too relatable, the like button is just intellectual attraction to this channel talking. Subscribe if you want to keep taking your own feelings apart.